Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me on my channel, Very Good Life. My name is Aya. I'm a feminine shaman here to assist you with your shamanic initiation. And most of the time, that entails dealing with various facets of trauma healing. Some people are ready to give birth to their new selves right away when they meet me. Others are at the beginning stages of things being revealed to them. I take things at your pace. I use modalities of astrology, Reiki, sound, chanting, um, like I said before, trauma healing, divination, at whatever level, reflexology, at whatever level you're at. And I used to offer Thai yoga massage and stuff, but I stopped offering that because I got a lot of weirdos more so than because a lot of people don't, although a lot of people know about it, but if you're not like known in the community for doing something like that, it seemed like I was getting a lot of people who had expectations that were unsavory. So I don't post that. But say I'm working with a client and I see that will be beneficial to them, I offer it to them. That's how I usually work with people. So if you come to me for like spiritual counseling, which combines all of my services, and you come see me face to face, you'll never know what might transpire, what might happen, because my goal is to relax your nervous system enough for you to allow change to happen, right? And so, whatever way is most loving to you is how I approach you, and it's catered to each individual person. So that explains why sometimes I'm not available because I put my all into it. I really care about people. When I'm really busy, like this week, it has been very busy. For me, I know it's only Wednesday, but it feels like Saturday, Friday, because that's how much work I've been doing. And then plus on top of that, I'm working on like a book and working on myself. I'm still learning a lot myself about how to live with all these energies all the time, and how to keep my energy healthy and whole. And I'm always learning. I'm not done learning. I don't ever want to be done learning, or else why get up in the morning? And everybody's different, but learning for me is a joy. All right. So we're doing a sun sign series, and we're on the eighth house. We're on to the mighty Scorpios, which is a complex sign to read. I call it a metal sign within my own world, um, because it's a Scorpio people are a combination, and they use a combination to me of all of the elements, but how they use their energy is a stealth like focus when they are done with all of the BS. And you'll find that um, with all of the drama, and once they figure out how to stop creating the drama, they're a force to be reckoned with. And you won't be able to get through to them because they become like compassionate mentalists, you know. That's the final stage. You won't find too many Scorpios at that stage, but when you do, it's like um not unlike no other experience. It's very sensuous person, that learns to not use their sexuality to manipulate, but they truly are magnetic people to be around when they learn their lesson. And you'll find that, I was about to say, you'll find that in any area of your chart where you have plutonic energy, when you're done with all the drama, you're a force to be reckoned with. When you're done playing games with yourself, when you realize, because Pluto was about taking responsibility, first being, you have to go through that victimhood stage. So Scorpios can be like perpetual victims when they're in their shadow self. But let's talk about a Scorpio's childhood, which they don't like to talk about. A lot of people will never really know a Scorpio. You'll only know the side of them that they tell you, that they want you to know. Why? Because they don't want you to hold it over their head. They don't want people to know their weaknesses or insecurities because they themselves judge themselves for it. It's not until they own their testimony and look at it like it's a testimony that it becomes a thing of a resource of power, because Scorpios are about resources. They themselves will become a great resource for whatever it is that they thought they wanted to be. They'll realize that at the end of the day, the only person they ever truly wanted to be was themselves, because um, they're the only ones that can do what they can do, how they can do it, you know. But their childhoods oftentimes are pretty traumatic, even if they try to pretend like it's not. And some people truly could have PTSD and have protected their conscious mind by forgetting some of the things that they've been through. Okay. So a lot of Scorpios, um, some trauma have happened at a young age and they just can't remember what it is, and it could be sexual trauma or violence, and them just being around violence in general. So since the sun is a representation of the father, and the sun is also a representation of a daily ritual that you saw your mom do. So they saw their father a lot of times be bums and not be there and not take responsibility for anything. It could range from the father being a drug addict, which is more Neptune type energy. But the reason why Pluto is involved in this type of energy as well is because when there's a lot of pain, suffering, and trauma, that's how people will tend to cope. And the Neptune energy, look, you can look at Neptune to see, you know, how far away it takes you in escapism from people. You know, there could be an abusive father in some way, right? A toxic father, and a mother that is attracted to toxic men. All right, a mother that is psychologically enmeshes herself with people who, um, a lot of times, she doesn't really need to be. She might be even a really smart mother, a hardworking mom, a mom that make sure you have everything you need in spite of the fact the father isn't, you know, available. I don't want to shadow shame, isn't available to be a great resource. So, and oftentimes a Scorpio person will start off like almost kind of like a king or queen as a child, getting everything they want, everything they need. And then an event will happen where they are put in a position to experience being poor or being uh, losing something, because Pluto is about uh, destruction and loss, right? So Scorpios experience like as a child, like many different lives before they're even an adult, which is why a lot of times they can be pretty mature people because they have suffered a lot more than the average child and seen a lot more, maybe seeing things that they should not have seen, experienced things at a young age, a loss of innocence sexually at a young age that they probably should not have experienced, but nonetheless, they have experienced it. Now, depending upon the psyche of the person, not everything is traumatizing to everyone. You know, some people might be completely obliterated by a situation, and others will just see it as a normal day. Um, and that doesn't mean someone's normal is healthy. I don't get that confused. But when people come to me with um, a lot of these case studies and stuff like that, I take it for how they see it at the time, right? And sometimes trauma unveils itself in layers. And so, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Because a lot of times Scorpios will be like, well, I didn't see anything wrong with, you know, humping around with my babysitter or whatever. We were just playing house. But the babysitter might have been 2 times the child's age. And so it's inappropriate. An exposure to someone else's desires in a way that sets them up for other experiences, that if you connect the dots, because Scorpios psychologically oftentimes have to connect the dots to why they are reacting to life the way they do in the present moment. So there's a lot of betrayal here. There's a lot of abandonment issues and fear of being alone, like existential terror of being alone. A lot of times Scorpios are very independent when they're children, like latchkey kids. Um, Very caring, loyal, giving, and open-hearted with their families. And that is used as a catalyst to transmute their energy. The whole thing about like rising from the ashes like a phoenix comes from a psychological realization that there's nothing there for you where you're at right now, that nobody can really do for you or offer you anything, and they never have been able to. That will cause you to um, you might have a nervous breakdown a little bit, or an implosion of energy on the inside. And what I mean by that, sometimes when we see when the truth is revealed and the veil is lifted, it can be shocking of what that means for us in the present moment. What you got to do now? Like, what am I to do now? Is oftentimes what Scorpios are faced with. It's like, hmm. So their motivation to become whatever it is they want to become is often the loss they experienced in their childhood. Their father or mom not being what they needed, and them maybe seeing other people prosperous, and them not wanting to experience that anymore, or even be looked down upon. Scorpios are all about their respect. Do not disrespect them. They don't like it. But at the same time, like I said before, they'll be put in positions where there's a hierarchy in society. There's levels to everything, right? And a lot of times Scorpios don't want to be at the level that they're at. They want to be more than where they're at, which is you have to want to rise in consciousness. It just doesn't happen. I mean, some people experience like these like type of quickenings in their soul, but a lot of times these are because of questions you're asking, things you're thinking about, and past life decisions that you made sometimes. But anyway, Scorpios want to be better. And within that wanting to be better, a lot of times their family members or social group that they have grown up in and feel loyal to will be like crabs in a bucket for them. And they'll have to learn the difference between their energy and other people's energy. Like, am I really a bad person because I want to do better? Am I really an arrogant prick because I want to do better? Learning how to be assertive and not aggressive would be a key. Letting people know it's okay for you to be where you're at. I'm not picking on you. Now, sometimes Scorpios can be downright rude, nasty, mean, and manipulative. I haven't talked about their shadow yet completely. I've been kind of nice and tiptoeing around it, but I know a lot of you have suffered from the stinger of a Scorpio, or from the Scorpio trying to use your resources to get what they want. And that's a very real thing. Because like I said before, they're social climbing, or they could be energy climbing. You have to use energy in order to rise in consciousness. It's not until they figure out that the only energy that they're going to really get what they want with is their own, that they truly do become a better person, or else they end up getting kicked out of every relationship, every place they're in. Once a person realizes or starts feeling like they're being used, it's all over but the crying, and they often end up having to start over again. Now, Scorpios may not look at it that way, just like the other signs. There's some people that, listen to the shadow and they're like, let me explain. I don't do it on purpose type of energy. No, you don't. You're not doing it on purpose. That's why I said the sun isn't who you are. It is what you are evolving into this lifetime. I'm sorry. I don't really want my unmentionables to show or whatever, but um the sun the sun is about your evolution. So you're going to experience your shadow. And when you finally admit that you have one and look at how it's affecting people, um, I'm a Scorpio sun. I realized even when when I got into the thick of my healing process, I realized that I was hurting people, that I was dangerous. I'm like, I think I'm dangerous to be around. I have good intentions and I'm trying to help people, but they're looking at me like, you don't even have your ish together. Why should we listen to you? Okay. I realized that in this world, if you don't have, if you're not able to accumulate enough energy to manifest the things that you want in your life without other people's help, which is super unrealistic. It don't have to be that way. Then people don't listen to you if you have wisdom. And then if you do accumulate the energy that you need in order to manifest what you want, um, people still don't want to listen. People just find I figured out that people are just finding a way not to listen to the truth or to wisdom because they may or may not be ready to change. I had to learn my lessons with that. But anyway, I there was a time where I was so codependent, I was afraid to live alone, terrified. I uh forcefully I put myself in a position to be by myself, even though I had friends that wanted me to live with them because they felt safer around me. Like very codependent soul tribe. That's some of our issues in our in some of my soul tribes, like codependency. Okay. And so when I left, there's been a few times in my life where I have left different soul tribes and done my own thing and to find myself. But anyway, I lived alone. It was awful at first. Then I broke myself out of that codependency, and I just started focusing on myself, and my life started getting better. Go figure, you know. Um, I stopped enmeshing myself, entangling myself, involving myself in other people's issues and problems, and trying to help people and be there for everyone. And you know, I even purposefully spent holidays alone because I realized that everything I did most of my life is to make other people happy. And I wasn't happy, and nobody was listening to me and what I wanted. Why should they? So I started listening to myself and what I wanted. And I learned about everything I like. And I, man, my life, my home, is like my sanctuary and my temple. And I would not trade it for anything in the world. And even like when I'm dating and stuff, I'm not quick to open my doors and let people in. It's like, you got to be pretty damn special. I got to know you very well to let you into my sanctuary, my temple, my home, my life. And for me to leave, people like, you want to come over? I like my house. I'm like, oh. I'm comfortable here. But that's a far cry from where I used to be, you know. That's just one example. I don't know if that's important to anyone, but maybe it is. So yeah, some people experience the shadow side of a Scorpio, which can be super selfish, narcissistic, and uncaring, unforgiving, ratchet, condescending, violent, manipulative, sadistic. All this is very plutonic Mars energy mixed together. And all of these things have to do with suffering and unhappiness, pain and misery that's trapped in the body. And it makes it hard for people to accept if they are also, you know, masochistic, you know, the gluttons for pain, and abuse, for someone to want to be around this person. Or even like how I used to be a very nice person. I meant well, but I need to get my shit together, point blank in the period. I need to just focus on myself. Um, and learn to stop being afraid of everything, of my life, of the air. You know, when you experience abuse and you have PTSD, and I guess during that time, that is when I studied profusely the things that I have to offer now to other people. I had no idea that I would be doing the things that I'm doing. None. It was all for me. It was all for my own personal health, mental health. I was just happy to gain my energy back. So this is when I started um, learning about the biology and psychology of trauma, how it affects the brain and the nervous system. All right. Um, and I began to transmute my energy to the point to where I could function. Like literally, I didn't have energy to move and to do the things I wanted to do. And so that's the thing about psychological or nervous system wounds. Nobody can see them, you know. They can see them maybe in your personality disorder and stuff like that, but a lot of people aren't compassionate, and a lot of people don't got no time or no patience to deal with it. So I actually had to stop trying to rely on my soul tribe or friendships or whatever to get the healing I need. I realized just how important it was to go seek help. That I started also going to a psychologist, also went to dance therapy, also went to Tai Chi, also went to like meditation. I did everything. And I also did like a knitting group, like a group of old ladies at the Barnes and Noble every Tuesday night. I needed to stay afloat while I was unearthing the hell that was inside of me. Oh my God, awful. And I also started writing a blog. I just needed a lot of outlets for everything that I had been holding inside for a really long time, and maybe even projecting onto others, which is why I have that my podcast Trigger Happy, and that's the name of my book, Trigger Happy, because for me that was like my path to wholeness. Every time I was triggered, which was often, every 2 seconds, I realized that that was my own personal issue coming up to be healed. And I looked at it that way. And I didn't let up on myself. I didn't let up on myself. So I was crying a lot. Like even after I kind of had a nervous breakdown and I was crying every day, like profusely sobbing for a year and just laid in a tub for a real, it just seemed like it just went on and on forever. And then when I got a little bit of gumption, energy, and some people have heard these stories I'm telling before, but some people have not. I got a part-time job because at that time I wasn't working. All I had was food stamps to offer the kids. So my cousin and our best friend paid, they paid the rent. I paid for food. But I mean, well, okay, it was what it was at the time. It wasn't the worst of times still. We still had a great time. They thought I was going crazy, but I was actually gaining my sanity. And I knew that. Um, yeah, I stopped expecting everyone to be there for me. And I realized that my trauma was so deep and dark and heavy and dense that only someone who was getting paid for to sit there and deal with that, I mean, would be able to handle it or desire to handle it. As I stopped having unrealistic expectation and putting all of my energy onto friendships where people are just looking for likeness, you know, and or whatever. Anyway, so those are a little bit about a lot of my plutonic lessons um, that I had to learn. Mhm. Um, so yeah, sorry to everyone who has been stung by a Scorpio and is having a hard time recovering, or who have had to break away from a Scorpio and flee with their life. Um, are bad. I'm part of the Scorpio tribe. You know, Scorpios can be ruthless because they don't want to go back to where they were. And it's like a dog with a bone when they find um, a resource, which could be you, to get to where they want to be. But my advice to anyone dealing with this with Scorpio is to leave them alone so that they can rise in consciousness themselves. Leave them alone. And I know a lot of times the Scorpios can be very pitiful and you feel sorry for them and they'll tell you their sob story or whatever, but you're not responsible for them. They need to learn their lessons and figure it out for themselves. And only really truly be there for someone in general if you can't afford to be there, you know. Um mhm. And my advice to Scorpios is to get it on your own. I know you need, if someone's offering you help and they can actually help you, take the help. Now I'm not saying that it won't come with drama because we live in a dimension in a plane where there's a light and dark side to everything. So you're not going to get the 1000% respect that you look for while you are um, needing help from people. But what you can do is make sure your karma's straight. If you live with someone, be a great roommate. Don't completely take advantage of the energies. Do your part, you know. Um, if there are dishes that need to be cleaned, clean the dishes. I mean like the little things. And this will also clean up a lot of a Scorpio's karma. Because Pluto is a very karmic dwarf planet. It's about karmic retribution. So look at your placement, your Scorpio placement, your eighth house placement for the family karma of what your ancestors need to learn how to take responsibility of, and maybe the downfall of your family. And start taking responsibility for it. That's all I can say. Scorpios, Take responsibility for your life, for your energy, for your wealth, for your handle your business. The eighth house is about business, right? Scorpios need to learn how to appropriately handle their business. You don't need to be a kingpin, a mafia lord. You can be kind of that type of energy to where you're running people, but be a compassionate leader. Allow people to be led by you if they want to, not by your violent control or whatever, because then you're going to end up with a lot of drama. Nobody has to do what you say, even if it's your house and it's like, okay, well, if you're going to have that attitude, you need to still be by yourself for a little bit. That's what but this world looks up and rewards bad behavior. So, and a lot of times you can't tell a Scorpio what to do. They have to learn the lessons the hard way, and they have to experience pain and suffering. Like I said before, if you're dealing with a Scorpio who's like that, send them peace, pray for them, but let them learn their lessons on their own. That's all I have to say about this. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel. Again, my website is afairygoodlife.com, and I'll holla at y'all.